Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Yance. You know how he is on the show. A very unique insight and analysis for all your favorite sports at the collegiate and professional levels. I already told you my name. You already know it. Brady, my co-host. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
Doing all right, man. Ready to talk some more basketball. We did that last week. We did it this week, and we got a new guest on the show, Sylas Ray, Cyborg. What's up?
Yes, what's up, dude? I'm excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on and
Sure.
agreeing to this, man.
Yes,
For sure.
sir.
Thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
hopping on.
Yeah, thanks, guys, man.
Yes, sir. Just
Of course.
for the viewers and all that stuff, just tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and all that, and all the jerseys in the back.
Yeah, so been a sports absolute fiend for my entire life. And so I started a podcast called Break the Silence with Cyborg. We're just trying to grow that. Going to be talking about all sorts of sports, not just basketball, not just football, but might venture into the UFC, boxing, things like that a little bit. Just kind of all the sports that I'm interested in. So we've done reactions for most every Celtics game, like I was telling Chase, except one that they lost to the Heat, and I punched a hole in the wall, and I felt like I just need to go to bed at that point. But so done reactions there. Yeah, yesterday I reacted to the Utah Jazz and their coach departing ways, kind of where they go from there. I started it just because kind of I feel like a lot of the sports media tends to focus on one team or one particular player. Like you hear talks about LeBron wherever he is on me, or Jordan. So you just hear talks about the Lakers constantly, and like I don't know. I think I watch a lot of games and a lot of other teams, and I always like hearing my team talked about. So I thought I'd start one up and talk some sports.
Definitely, that's pretty
For
cool.
sure.
And like you said, you talk about the big market teams. You talk about the Lakers. The Celtics are talked about a whole lot, but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, but it is what it is. Sometimes it is nice having your team getting talked about and everything. And it even goes into like the NFL. Like I know you and your dad and your entire like family's a Browns fans and all that stuff.
It's brutal, man. Let's not talk about that, man.
Yeah, we'll keep that away from for another time and all that. I know I'm a Bengals fan. Most of our teams don't really get a whole lot of media exposure and all that stuff, and just having time to talk about them and other teams and stuff like that, and just bring those other insights and all that stuff is pretty cool, though.
Yeah. I want you to think about how good Chase's life has been in the last year, man. He's got his Warriors in the finals. He's got his Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Man, and I've had to keep that into perspective myself. The Bengals losing that thing just really
Uh,
took me down. But hey, I would like the Warriors to win this entire thing, but it is what it is. But
yeah, we'll see what
yes, it has
happens.
it has been pretty fun though. But we'll hop right into it though. Get your initial thoughts from game 1 and game 2, because there's been some roller coasters.
It's been a wild start to the series, man. And like I had mentioned there, I'm a Celtics fan, so I'm kind of watching it from a fan's perspective, but I also try to evaluate it, a little more from the analysis side. But this series has been really tough because in games 1 and 2, I feel like it's been the tale of two quarters. To be honest, you had the fourth quarter for the Celtics in game 1 where they just shot the lights out. And honestly, how much can you really evaluate a quarter like that they just go crazy from the 3-point line? Is that going to happen again? I don't really think so. It might happen another time in the series, but it's not anything that the Celtics did strategically necessarily. And then in game 2, you had the Warriors in the third quarter just go bonkers there. Now, I do think that's a little more of something to watch because the Warriors are such a good third quarter team. I think they said they were number 1 in the third quarter the entire season. So the Warriors in the third quarter are nasty. And Steph Curry's nasty. Jordan Poole's nasty. They had the role players were a big part of games 1 and 2, though, because game 1, Tatum didn't play well, but Horford, Derek White, and Marcus Smart all scored relatively well. And then the next game, Celtics had 3 of our starters score 6 points total. They each had 2 points. So
Yeah.
it's just 2 completely different games, man. It comes down to those role players so much because Steph's going to do his thing. Well, hopefully Tatum picks his game up. We'll talk about him in a minute, but I don't know. What were your thoughts from those games?
I'm gonna just let Brady do this one. If you have
Okay,
any
okay.
thoughts, Brady, I'll give mine in a second.
Okay, well, I mean, I thought, like he said, Tatum in game one, they needed more of the role players to pick him up a little bit, which they did. Multiple scoring over 20 points. The shooting was amazing from Al Horford, Derek White, Marcus Smart, all picking it up. Jaylen Brown's been somewhat consistent overall. And obviously Curry, he's just unguardable. Nobody's going to guard Curry. He's going to get his 25, 30-point games practically every game most likely. But yeah, I think it could go either way. These two games hasn't shown me that one team has stood out from the other one, because like it's not like one team ever outplayed the other one by like a large margin. Because the Warriors sort of pulled away the second one, and obviously the Celtics made the comeback the first. But the Celtics and initially looked like the Celtics might pull game two when they started to they started rolling when Jason Tatum started hitting those threes. And man, I just thought it's been a good series so far, competitive. And obviously I'm not a fan of either team, so I really liked the close series.
Sure. And you look at it. You talk about that game one when it came to hitting threes and hitting shots outside from role players. Derek White, he had 21 points and his plus minus was actually 25. So Derek White obviously had pretty impactful game one, 5 for 8 from the three. Marcus Smart was 4 for 7 from the three. Al Horford was the big one, 6 for 8 from the three. First finals game ever, 26 points and 6 rebounds and all that. And Jason Tatum had a rough game one, all right, 12 points, 5 rebounds, but he did have 13 assists, so he was able to find those guys, find those role players, and they're able to hit shots. And are those guys going to hit shots every single night? No, not all of them are going to hit shots every single night. And that was even shown in game two when you talk about the starters, 3 starters having 2 points apiece. It happens at times, and that's when you need your best players to show out. Steph Curry's shown out. All right, Steph Curry has done basically it all for the Warriors. What do you have? 34. I think he had 34 game one, 29 game two. So he's really been he's been on hitting his shots and everything. But the role players for the Warriors, you had Jordan Poole, 17 points. You had Andrew Wiggins at 11. Kevon Looney had 12, and he had 7 rebounds. But we'll get to a couple more questions in a second about Jason Tatum and Klay Thompson, because Lord knows what's going on with those guys. That we will save that for a little bit. But yeah, just my pieces of it are the roller coaster rides in between these quarters. The Celtics having a great fourth quarter in game one. The Warriors, in the first half of game two, obviously it was back and forth and all that. So it was pretty close. And that's how it was really in the first half of game one as well. It was pretty tight basketball both ways in both first halves. Third quarter was the Warriors quarter. Fourth quarter, was the Celtics. But then the third quarter for the Warriors in game two was ridiculous. So the Celtics couldn't even catch up for the fourth. So, it's really been hinging on the Warriors in a way when it comes to this series. But there's just a lot of stuff to really just put together with this series, because it is a very fascinating and intriguing series. And that's why we're really breaking it down, But yeah, who are some standouts or players that have had unexpected performances that you've seen? I know we've probably mentioned a couple, but anybody that has caught your eye?
For me in game one, I think Derek White. Honestly, watching him, the Celtics traded for him about midway through the season, and honestly, he wasn't overly impressive. He wasn't shooting very good. I don't know. You just didn't get the feel was that a great trade for the Celtics? And kind of starting the playoffs, he struggled until about midway through that Miami series. He had a kid actually, and then all of a sudden became a good basketball player again. So not sure the correlation there, but dude shot the lights out, is really good at attacking the basket, and probably the best point guard the Celtics have, because we don't really play with a traditional point guard. Marcus Smart, I wouldn't really consider that traditional of a point guard. And then on the Warrior side, I think Kevon Looney, man, that guy, he's always in the right spot. His rebounding has been great. he's playing really well off Steph, and Steph does a great job that if he gets doubled, he kicks it down to Kevon Looney, and Looney's getting easy buckets. But Looney's battling down there, and I think he's had a big impact on this series, competing against the Celtics, who kind of play big. They have two power forward centers starting, and then Tatum and Brown are both pretty big. So Kevon Looney, I think, is important in this series.
Yep, I agree. I think, like with how the Warriors play, they're able to, they obviously drive, kick, and shoot. Right? You went them for threes and all that stuff. Steph shooting threes, Jordan Poole shooting threes, Klay Thompson shooting threes. Really, all of those guys are pretty good shooters and all that. But, obviously it's drive, kick, but then you also have drive and dish off. And if those guys are able to, help out on a guy like Curry who desires so much attention and all that. And then Kevon Looney has an easy drop off. He's 7 foot. He's going to go up and dunk it. All right. And it just makes it that much easier and, that much more of a luxury to have. And on the offensive glass, he's been really big, like you see a bunch of long rebounds that are kind of by the baseline, all stuff. And Kevon Looney's right there and he's able to kick it back out and the Warriors are able to spread it back out. So he just, kind of gets them back into their offense and all that stuff from a down low perspective and everything. But even just cleaning stuff up inside on the offensive glass, on the defensive glass and all that stuff has been really big. And I also mentioned Derek White. The shooting ability of his in game one was shown very well. And even in game two, he was, 2 for 4 from the three, 4 for 13 from the field. Not so great. Yeah. But they just got to get valuable minutes out of Derek White, with Marcus Smart being the defensive player of the year. And, his primary job throughout the series is going to be stop number 30 for the Warriors. That's his primary job. Don't want to really overload Marcus Smart too much on the offensive end and everything, because I tell you, like he's going to be staying up a lot at night talking about Steph Curry and all that stuff. But, with the way he's been playing. So, yeah, I agree with those two, with those two picks right there when it comes to, guys that have really shown up and surprised. Brady, you got any thoughts on this? Any surprise players, or you think we hit it all?
I mean, I think you pretty much hit it. I mean, I don't got anybody else that I would say. I think he's right on the spot with I could say Al Horford, of course, just with all the three-point performance. But I think Derek White coming off the bench and Kevon Looney were great picks for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to really say, surprise players. We talk about Kevon Looney, talk about Derek White, but surprise players that have played consistently well, because you even talk about I'm trying to scroll through this stuff. Robert Williams had 8 points and he had 6 rebounds and 4 blocks in game one. But then game two, what does he do? He had
2 points, 2 rebounds? Yeah,
2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks. I know he didn't really have a whole lot lighting up on the scoring end and all that stuff, but 8, 6, and 4 from a center. You can take that when other guys are really showing up and all that stuff. So there hasn't really been a whole lot of consistency. And also Al Horford with his 26, and then he goes and scores 2 points, like we even talked about, 2 points, and Marcus Smart 2 points, even though he scored, in game one he was able to.
21, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 18. The point guards. The point guard scored 40 points combined. But yeah, just the consistency factor from the Celtics in game one and game two obviously dropped. It's only 2 games, so you can't really tell what the method's going to be or what the flow is going to be for the entire series, which is what we're talking about. But we get into that of guys who have really disappointed so far. Jason Tatum and Klay Thompson. Why are they struggling? What do you think the reason is that they're struggling so much right now?
So I'm curious to hear, and I'll talk a little about Tatum, but as far as the Klay piece, I don't when I've watched the Warriors this year, I don't think he looks like his normal self to me. Just doesn't look like he's moving quite the same. Now, the interesting thing is he's not really hitting the 3 ball because he had some good looks in the last game. So I don't know. Maybe I wonder if it's conditioning, are his legs tired and he's just, is that's throwing his shot off a little bit. But I'm curious to hear what you thought on him, because I don't know. Is this something that did you think he's been playing good leading up to this series and then all of a sudden been struggling a little more? Have you seen this kind of at the end of the year? But I'll talk about Tatum a little bit for a second here. I don't know what exactly happened to him. Something I think that's interesting to keep an eye on with Tatum is that he keeps holding his shoulder. Um, he got hurt, I think it was early in game 2 against Miami, and he really hasn't had a great game since. And repeatedly throughout the game, you'll see him, and he hit 4 or 5 threes in the first half last game. So, I mean, it clearly was good enough to shoot. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something to keep an eye on with him. Both of those guys, kind of as you mentioned, both of those guys letting their team down. Tatum was a minus 37, I think, minus 36 or minus 37. And then Clay was just a flat 0 in the plus minus in game 2. In a game that you dominated, to get a plus minus of 0, that hurts, man. Like you clearly didn't play well. I think they had him in late in the fourth quarter to try to see if they could get him going. Interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Bill Simmons. He's a big NBA insider. He said that he thinks that the Warriors should consider benching Klay Thompson in big moments. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but he said that he thinks like Gary Payton and Jordan Poole would be a better combo there.
You know, I was actually thinking about this earlier when it comes to the Klay Thompson. That was a great point on Jason Tatum and all that. We're, looking at the shoulder and all that. So we definitely got to monitor that, keep an eye on that. But they are going to need him this entire series to be that guy. So we definitely agree on that. Klay Thompson, it's like, I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard to say because doesn't look like he's moving the same way. All right. He looks like he's moving a step slower and all that. And, it's a bit expected when he's been out for this long, but you would think by this time, he came back in January. You'd think that he would have most of that rust shaken off when it comes to June. He had some good performances, in the Mavericks series. He had some good performances in the Grizzlies series as well. And even like Game 6 Klay, against the Grizzlies. He had a very good game, like 30 points, all right? So, like, we've seen him. We know he's able to do that stuff, all right? Maybe not up to 2015, 2016 Klay, but he's able to do all that stuff. I don't know what it is, though, with him. Defensively, just doesn't seem like he's there defensively. Just, looks like a step slower and all that. I wouldn't call him a liability, but it ain't good, all right? And he's just cold. He's not finding anything. He just kind of looks timid when he's shooting and all that. Like he doesn't, have as much. I wouldn't, have as much confidence when he's shooting the 3 and all that stuff. He's gotten good looks, like you said. He's just not knocking them down. So it's kind of weird to see that from Klay Thompson because I've never really seen that from him before. But like you said, mentioning, should Jordan Poole, Gary Payton, play in place of Klay Thompson, like what Bill Simmons said. I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to say because, Klay Thompson's a shooting guard. All right. I know we have labels and stuff like that of positional value. Klay Thompson's 6'7". If Klay Thompson was like up to date, being healthy and all that stuff, I wouldn't mind him playing that small forward role. All right. The Warriors already spaced out on offense. They already drive, kick, and shoot. All right. Yeah. And I wouldn't mind having Jordan Poole, slide in and play as a starter and all that. So I've kind of thought of those lineups, stuff like that, of Curry, Poole, Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Looney, because Draymond Green needs to get the hell out of there. All right. I'm not. Yeah.
Curious. So I've always been curious what Warriors fans think of Draymond, because if you're not a fan of the Warriors, you hate that guy.
Yeah.
He's just always talking, man.
Yeah.
And he got on afterwards and is like on Twitter,
he's dirty
his podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But he's all over social media and his podcast and I showed them, and I'm like, bro, you're riding the coattails of one of the 10 greatest players of all time potentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw there was the post of Kendrick Perkins earlier. I think it might have been a couple hours ago of him throwing a behind the back pass, and then Draymond Green's in the comments and all that stuff. They're all arguing and all that stuff. They got beef. Like, dude, you got to get ready for the finals game tomorrow. It's game 3 tomorrow. All right. But the thing about Draymond Green is, personally, like, before I was able to kind of tolerate stuff like that. I'm like, well, Draymond's just, doing this or doing that. I wouldn't say I never liked him so much or never hated him, but this is just ridiculous. I can honestly say that I hate Draymond Green. I hate him. I do not like it one bit. I really don't. Like,
what has happened to his shooting?
I don't know. I think he's never really been that great of a shooter. Obviously, he hit some big shots back in the past and all that stuff, but I don't know what it is. He just seems like, I don't know. He just seems like he's like distracted and all the stuff, off the court and all that stuff. And then, he just has to cause some antics and all that stuff. And it comes onto the court too, because you see him like setting those illegal screens. He's literally pass blocking out there, just, I'll even say it as a Warriors fan. I just like it's not right. It's not good basketball. It really is. And I'm down for a guy setting screens for a shooter to get open and all that stuff, but not in that way. He's literally just chucking and throwing people and all that stuff. And, I will say the refs have jacked some of those calls up. They've literally called Jaylen Brown for a couple of fouls. They called some stupid fouls here and there and all that stuff. Grant Williams even, like
that was crazy.
Yeah, there's been a couple of crazy calls and all that stuff, and I'm not down with it at all. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Draymond Green when it comes to that. Should they bench Klay Thompson, in big moments and all that stuff? No, I mean, I think they should keep him in, but they should get Poole in at the same time. They should have those guys, all three guys having the ability, to shoot and all that stuff on the court at the same time. Hopefully Klay breaks through. If there's nothing shown through about game 4 of this series, then I don't know what else to say, because it's a lost cause when it gets to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's interesting the lineups that you have in, because and Steph gets overhated for like his defense. His defense is really solid in my opinion. I don't know. Like I don't ever watch him and think, yeah, let's attack Steph because he's a weak link. I don't feel that way at least. But I do think Jordan Poole, and like you kind of mentioned, Klay is not maybe the defender he once was. You worry about like just having defenders on the court at all times. So that's why I think maybe I kind of thought when they had Gary Payton in there, the Celtics were really struggling.
That's true.
So I honestly think if I'm the Warriors, I'm playing a little more Gary Payton maybe than I did. I don't know why he didn't play in game 1 or what the thought process was there, but
yeah, I don't know if he was healthy. I don't know if he was like fully healthy or not for that game. It's kind of weird, but like, if he was available, I would have played him. All right. If that was the case and all that. But yeah, that's a good point though. Gary Payton and all that. So, our lineups, we have some very weird lineups that the Warriors run. All right. They run some very interesting lineups. The Warriors are they're pretty careless with the basketball. All right. Overall, they seem like they're pretty careless, but it makes up with their shooting and all that stuff running the floor. But, being able to have that defender that will not get technical fouls, that will not get stupid fouls, is actually nice to have, with Gary Payton. I know him and Draymond Green do not play the same position. They're kind of, they're different in build, different in size, and different in the range of people that they can guard. But, Steve Kerr is a very good coach. He has to find I want him to find some ways to get some of these lineups that, just combine some of these lineups in together that, will work with a bigger lineup that the Celtics run and all that stuff.
I almost think the coaching battle is something interesting, because I think Steve Kerr, if he wins another title, especially, not with no KD again, you're talking about, getting into coaching range of, in discussions for top 10 all-time coach. But Ime Udoka also has done an unbelievable job with his Boston squad. Like, it's the same squad that couldn't make the finals for the last 5 years. Yeah. So the coaching battle is going to be really interesting, and that's why I'm excited to keep seeing these games and the adjustments that they make with lineups and everything. I think something the Celtics consider, I don't know if Robert Williams is playable when Steph's on the court, because they just keep trying to switch Rob onto Steph, and Steph is getting butt naked threes constantly. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we saw it in game 1 when he scored 21 in that first quarter. Like, those were wide open, a lot of those. Yeah. And so when the Celtics kind of went small and were able to switch, it at least makes it somewhat tough on Steph Curry, for as tough as you can make it on him, I guess. But
yeah, so with that, like, I've kind of saw it too, like even in that first quarter of game 1, like they would kind of play a sag hedge with Robert Williams. They would play him pretty far back at the 3-point line. Even they would set some, like the Warriors set some high ball screens and all that stuff. And knowing Steph, his range is unlimited. All right. Yeah. So having Robert Williams play sag hedge, and if Steph is on that night, it's already a recipe for death. Yeah, so every time if they can have, if they can have some guy that's out there that they're able to, kind of extend and defend, or able to kind of hedge better and all that stuff off that. And it doesn't seem like they feel confident with Robert Williams being able to go out there and do that. If they try to go out there and do that, then, Steph's able to have the ability to go around like that. But I don't know. They got to, the Celtics can find some different ways to defend screens better and all that stuff, especially that high middle ball screen. So that's going to be really interesting to see, especially with a guy like Steph, who is coming off the dribble and can pull up and can shift and can kick out and all that stuff. But if they can just have if the Celtics can have somebody in there that can just limit what Steph can do and really give him only one or two options, then that plays in the Celtics' favor, of course.
Is Steph is Steph your favorite offensive player? Steph, if you had to pick one just strictly offensive player to build around, his ability to do everything so great is unbelievable.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I think I would build around him myself. What about you, Brady?
For sure. I mean, the only other player that comes to mind is KD, but I mean, I think I'd rather have Steph, especially in terms of being a primary ball handler, being a primary best shooter of all time, being able to score at the rim even sometimes he'll find a way. He'll find a way to get the ball up and over or around a 7-foot big man. He'll draw fouls going in the lane. He basically is just and like Sylas said, he plays really good defense compared to what people try to say. So yeah, I mean, I'd build around Steph Curry. The way he'll get around a ball screen at the top of the key, and like a Celtics player this series won't come up far enough, and he'll just launch it and nail it. It's just so unexpectedly. You can't even give him an inch of space, and he's going to nail 3. So, I'd build around it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we talk about Steph's defense and all that stuff, it's been kind of weird because obviously I don't think he's a bad defender either, but there have been times where Steph Curry has been matched up with Jason Tatum, and you would normally think that Jason Tatum, with his size, being a good 6 inches taller than Steph Curry, take him to the hole, back him down even. Because, if he backs him down, he's got a couple openings here or there. He's got good enough moves to go into him and all that stuff and finish over top of him. And we saw that in game 1, he was able to facilitate the ball, 13 assists. So I would think that Jason Tatum would want to be more aggressive when he has a guy like Steph Curry on him. Maybe he doesn't have to just beat him off the dribble, but just kind of bully and muscle his way inside. Steph's not a small guy, but, Jason Tatum, think about 6'9", 240, 50, whatever he is. Steph's 6'3", 190. So you want to take advantage of that. Not saying Steph's a bad defender, but it's just it's the metrics. It's the mismatch. It's a proven mismatch. So that point of it is interesting. I hope Klay turns it on. I really do. If he doesn't, we're gonna be in trouble. All right. Overall, I think we're gonna be in trouble if he doesn't turn it on, or if Jordan Poole doesn't step up and take Klay's 21 or 22 a game. Yeah. So that part of it is interesting. But Brady, you want to ask the next question about the Celtics and their ways?
Yes, for sure. What do you think? How do you think the Celtics will be able to win this game? What are the keys to winning this game for the Celtics? Game 3.
So the biggest thing I think with every Boston Celtics game in this playoff so far is taking care of the basketball. Right. It's not turning the ball over. We've seen the Celtics, by the metrics, had the worst playoff fast break defense in the NBA. Basically meaning if you turn the ball over, they give up a bucket
most of
more
the time.
than anyone else. Yep. But they have the best half court defense. So if the Celtics can get into their half court defense, they're really tough to score on, and you can see how talented they are defensively. But man, when they turn the ball over, and they're going to have games like that, they just keep doing it repeatedly in this playoff. So in my opinion, take care of the basketball, but also we got to stop trying to play Daniel Tice. That guy can't see the court in the NBA Finals. That guy is so bad. I'm so tired of seeing that guy on the court. He keeps playing that what I think you called it a drop hedge, but drop coverage on Steph. And I can't tell you how many times, every time Daniel Tice is in the game, they set a screen on his guy, Daniel Tice drops, and it's a wide open 3. And it's what is this guy doing on the court? Because he's not big, he's not a good rebounder, he's not a good rim protector, he can't shoot, and he's not good in the post. Like what's he on the court for?
He's taking up space. He's a liability, you know.
Chase, he's like my Bryson Shaw for Ohio State football.
Oh,
get him off the field. He we'd rather play with 10 defenders than play with him.
I tell you, I hear when we were at an Ohio State game, we played Maryland this year, and he was just in my ear talking about Bryson Shaw just being so bad.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you know, he's pretty ass. So,
he's there. He's there.
Yeah, just like I can see it from Daniel Tice though. He's not, he's not mobile. He's not really in shape. He can't really, he obviously can't move. Doesn't really have many good post moves. He's really just takes up a lot of space on defense. It takes a lot of space on the court in general, is what it is.
He basically isn't that good at basketball overall.
He's just tall.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but he's the one that drives me nuts. But what do you think? What adjustments do you want to see from the Warriors?
Well, I don't know. I think a lot more drive and kick on offense, I would say. They got, I know like the Warriors are, overall careless with the basketball, but I do want to have, I do want them to like, stop the turnovers a little bit more, but obviously don't change the way that you're playing and all that stuff, because that's how you've been known. You've been known for the Warriors like that for the last 8 years with Steph Curry. I do want to see a little more drive and kick though, if guys are able to get on and all that stuff, get on with their shots and everything, then I think the Celtics might have some trouble, really spreading around and trying to, go here and there with some of those rotations and all that stuff with the shooters that the Warriors have on the court. That obviously involves Klay Thompson having to find his shot. All right, it does. So that's a very big if. All right, but I don't know. The Warriors need to get out and run as well. Like you said, the Celtics are the worst transition defense in basketball, and they're the best half-court defense in basketball. So if the Warriors can get out and run, take advantage of it. And if you turn the ball over a little bit and all that stuff in the first half, it's not that big of a deal. Just, keep it a close game, manageable and all that stuff, because that's what it's been the first two games. I really don't see it, being a blowout either way when it comes to the first half. And those teams will really come alive in the second half one way or another, and they will show or separate, which is what it's been the first two games. So I would like to see the Warriors run a little bit in transition, obviously dribble drive, kick outs and all that stuff just to get easier shots. Right.
No, I agree.
Yeah, you saw a lot of it though, especially in both third quarters and all that stuff. The first, game one, third quarter is kind of forgot about and all that stuff because of the Celtics comeback. You think about it, that's a 24-point swing from the third quarter to the fourth quarter in that game. The Celtics just got really hot and all that stuff, and the Warriors got really cold. And the Warriors couldn't defend for crap because the Celtics were hitting everything that they touched. So that part of it. Who knows if we'll see the Celtics be able to do that again? They very well could, though. I don't know, because a lot of crazy things happened in the finals. So I guess we'll see how all that plays out. But then I think Brady will ask you another question too.
Yeah, just what do you think are the X factors overall for both teams going forward in this series?
So I wrote down two for each team. We've talked about Klay Thompson a lot. What else do you have to say? If he gets going, then the Warriors are so deadly on offense, and it's the same reason that they're the best dynasty since the Spurs, whatever. Right. So he's their massive weapon, because obviously there's a lot of teams in the NBA with one great superstar. You got you got Giannis, all these guys, but when you have that guy playing off of them so effectively, like a Klay Thompson, who's such a threat too, to where you just absolutely can't help off this guy and you're worried about him, that's massive. And if Klay doesn't pick it up, then it's Jordan Poole.
Yeah,
right. Jordan Poole is and I don't want to overly hate on, but he's not great on defense for sure.
He's not.
So if he is not hitting on offense, like in game one, he's a pretty big liability to have on the court. And then on the Celtics side, Al Horford and Derek White were the two I wrote down here, because Al Horford is someone who has had such great games, and then like some games he's kind of non-existent. And the reason I think Horford is big is because they kind of switched to Draymond guarding Jaylen Brown in game 2, and kind of left. There were a lot of times Horford had the opportunity to post up a smaller player.
Right.
And Horford turned it over or missed the shot horribly in every one of those situations. And Horford's not a bad post player at all. So when he gets that mismatch on him, got to take advantage of that. And then obviously just Derek White. He's kind of our ball handler, you know.
Right.
He can provide that scoring that maybe you wouldn't account for as the Warriors, where you focus on their couple main guys and then Derek White kind of hits you from the side. But yeah, that I kind of feel that way. But yeah, we'll see how those guys play.
That's a good answer because we kind of watched. We watched those two be the X factors really in game 1. So like that, I completely agree. Because I feel like those two, like obviously even more than like Jaylen Brown, who also had a good game, were the ones that just hit the most momentum swinging shots of the game. And me and Chase were watching the game with Celtics fans, and like they were going ballistic when they.
They were.
It was hilarious. Oh, yeah. It was hilarious.
Yeah, they're not your average Celtics fans. I will say that.
No, they were going nuts. They were going nuts. But I mean, I personally want the Celtics to win just because, like, I'm kind of tired of the Warriors. No offense, Chase. No offense.
I'm taken.
But yeah, but yeah, I love the answer.
Celtics fans are the worst.
There's something else for sure. They really do care about their team, but they really don't care about what anybody says, and they will say whatever. But
yeah,
one of the guys is a part of our show though. So Matt, whenever you watch this, I'll talk to him on the side. But yeah, I agree though with those picks though. If Jordan Poole's got to get going and all that stuff, if he's not able to get going, I don't know why he's going to be on the court. All right. He's he's a very versatile offensive player. He can shoot the ball. He can drive, score, and all that stuff. But defensively, he's a bit of a liability, man. He's not really that big and all that stuff. And if he's having to guard, a 2 or a 3 or guard a Jaylen Brown, even like I'm taking Jaylen Brown every day of the week, if I'm being honest. But a guy like Jordan Poole, if he's able to score, you can live with some of that stuff, especially the way the Warriors play. You can live with, Jordan Poole scoring 20 or 25 and giving up 20 points and all that stuff, because it's still +5. When it comes to that, I'm not really big into I know what the plus minus and all that stuff is and all that stuff, but I don't really pay a lot of attention to it. But, if Jordan Poole is able to be a big threat offensively, then the other stuff can take care of itself. On the Celtics side of things, Al Horford, we saw when they played the Bucks, was it game 4? He had that really big game. I think he dunked on Giannis, I believe. Yeah. If we see
chills.
Yeah, that's chills right there. I mean, he was going off the game. He had like 30, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
It was insane. A finger snapped and a monster came out from Al Horford and all that. Because I think he kind of got dunked on by Giannis, and then that kind of look came on. I remember his sister tweeted about it. He said, "Oh, you made him mad" and all that stuff, and he went off and all. But if we see that Al Horford, we might be in big trouble because if he's able to step out and shoot some threes and all that stuff, that's cool. But obviously, if he's able to have a smaller guy on him, like. He's 7 feet tall. He's been in the league for 15 years or whatever. He can put his back to the basket and score. He can face up and score and all that stuff. So, that'll be really big and interesting to see how they're able to do that. So here we're kind of toward the end of the show and all that stuff. We might talk about something else after. I think we talked about a Kevin Durant thing that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Got a little question for you.
Oh yeah. Actually, you go ahead and ask it now. We can do our.
We'll go ahead and do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's kind of a 2-parter, okay? Because I don't know a lot of Warriors fans personally, so I'm curious to hear your perspective. One, how did you feel when KD joined the Warriors? As far as you basically became an unbeatable team when you won the first title, that was probably cloud 9. If the Bengals would won the title, it's cloud 9.
Oh, I never get down.
Yeah, and then when you add that guy. it probably, like, to me, I don't know, like, I imagine that it didn't feel as good, those titles you won after, because you were like, this almost isn't fair. But my second part to that is, with KD losing in the first round and the Warriors potentially winning the NBA Finals, what does this do to KD's legacy? Because you already have people saying that those were fake rings with the Warriors. I think this almost validates it even more.
So with the first part, all right, I remember this. So day after my 13th birthday, July 4th, 2016, Independence Day. That's when we heard about the news that Kevin Durant was going to the Warriors. I thought it was I thought this was a freaking dream. I was like, wait, what the heck? I was like, KD to the Warriors? I never saw this coming at all. Like, we just blew the 3-1 lead to the Cavs a few weeks before in 2016. Me and my brother's a Cavs fan, all right?
Okay.
Warriors fan. We went at it for 4 years and all that stuff. First year we won, second year they won, and we were just jawing with each other, all right? We get KD, I'm like, okay, this is almost unfair and all that stuff. We're gonna somehow see the Cavs next year, which happened and all that. And they won, the Warriors won in 5. I was happy about it, but as it really went on and all that stuff, I was like, yeah, this doesn't seem really too fair and all that stuff. But this could also, like, internal issues. You've seen it before with some really good teams in the NFL and all that stuff, and even some really good teams in the NBA. Internal conflicts of guys getting the ball here, or guys having differences of opinions here or there.
Yeah.
KD and Draymond. I think when KD and Draymond started having issues and all that stuff, I think it might have been late 2017, like the late 2017-18 season, and really 2018, all of 2018-19 season when we lost to the Raptors that year.
Right.
You started seeing all that. And I honestly, as a fan, I know it's only been 2 or 3 years of KD. I was tired of it. One of those guys, honestly, I thought had to go, like, one way or another. I knew it wasn't going to be Draymond, though. So I was like, hey, it's going to
probably wish it was, maybe.
Yeah, I really wish it was, all right? But, it was going to have to be KD. I was thinking, like, if we don't win the finals this year, KD's not coming back. He gets hurt in the finals, and we end up losing in 6, and he's gone. So, I don't think I was sad that he left. I obviously was like, it is what it is and all that stuff. But then you think about the Warriors had that awful season in 2019. I think Steph got hurt and missed like 50 games or whatever. And then obviously the pandemic. And Clay was already out because he tore his ACL in game 6 of the finals. So I think coming in, like, first couple games of that season, I knew it was like, it's over. Like, we're tanking, blah, 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 whatever, lottery pick. This is a really weird situation that we won 3 out of 4 finals and we end up here, deja vu and all that stuff. It was kind of humbling experience as a fan and all that. But when it comes to your part 2 of that question, it validates it. It really does. I mean, I think Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers that basketball has ever seen, with him being damn near 7 feet tall, can shoot the 3, can shoot a 15-footer and like never miss and all that stuff, unless Jason Tatum's guarding him in 2022. But that's true. But I think it does validate and all that stuff. Kevin Durant was ring chasing, all right? Guys ring chasing all that stuff, but he was like the biggest star that I think ever ring chase in sports. I will call him. He was like, the biggest like, I don't know, with the most clout, the most recognition behind him. He was the biggest guy to ever do that. He got his rings and all that stuff. Now he's with the team where he's really the guy. He's got Kyrie. He had Harden last year and all that stuff, and just couldn't get it done. Yeah. So he needed some shooters and all that stuff, and he was able to do his own thing. Not saying that was an issue when it was that moment. As a Warriors fan, I'm like, okay, I love this. Yeah. But Kevin Durant, like, it obviously, like, kind of wraps up his legacy and all that stuff, saying that, I mean, those rings, to an extent, were kind of fake in a way. He's going to go down as a 2-time NBA champion. He is. Yeah. But people are always going to remember summer of 2016 when he just ditched the Thunder after he and Russell Westbrook blew a 3-1 lead to those guys. If you can't beat them, join them. That's the quote that'll live with Kevin Durant for the rest of his career. And honestly, with basketball, the rest of his life when it comes to basketball. If you can't beat them, join them.
And every time you see a team win a title nowadays, you see Kevin Durant's picture in their jersey. It says his next chapter.
My next chapter on that player's tribute.
And then Peyton Manning made a joke about it or something, like joining a new volleyball team with all the best players, and then Kevin Durant got really mad about it.
And then he asked Russell Westbrook, "Oh, Russ, what do you think about it?" And all that stuff.
Oh,
Think about it though. Like, obviously it looks bad for Kevin Durant what he did himself, but think about those guys that were his teammates and all that stuff. They just got to the Western Conference Finals. They won 3. They were up 3-1 and all that stuff. And they're like, most of those guys are like, okay, we'll get back at it next year and all that stuff. Like, don't worry and all that. But then, Kevin Durant's in free agency, but you're thinking like, okay, he'll come back. We'll, we'll get after it. We can beat these guys. We've done it. We did it like 3 times in that series. Yeah. But then Kevin Durant pulls a stunt like that. Everybody's going to start to hate him, Like he's like one of the most hated guys in the NBA because of that stunt right there that he did.
And he loves Twitter.
Oh, he loves Twitter. He really does love Twitter. And, that was another thing as a fan and all that stuff. Obviously, you look at some of that stuff to kind of keep yourself busy and all that stuff. But every time you saw KD tweeting, even on his burner or whatever you want to call it, but just seeing that every time, it's like, geez, dude, you play basketball for a living. Why are you on Twitter just, getting in beef and all that stuff about other conversations like, stop talking about it. It's like, keep your name out of my mouth, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But I don't know. Just some of that stuff was really annoying to just see and all that. So, but yeah, that's kind of the perspective I had on all that. It's a really interesting perspective because, I see fans, I would see Warriors fans and stuff like that try to defend him and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily going to defend him. I'm going to cheer for him because he's on my team, but I'm not necessarily going to defend him for what he did, for his decision and all that stuff. Obviously, it is his decision. He's got the freedom in free agency to go where he wants and everything. And he's part of our team. He helped us with some titles and all that stuff. But yeah, and also the other part of the question: if the Warriors win this thing, I mean, I don't know what you do if you're Kevin Durant. I mean,
you got to win. He's got to win one on his own, man.
He's got to win one on his own. And I think that right there is just going to add, it's going to really get your popcorn ready and all that stuff. Because you want to see what Kevin Durant can do the following season or the rest of his career and all that stuff. And that question and, the quotes are going to be hovering right over his head until he gets up on that podium and announces his retirement from basketball. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Kevin Durant moving forward if the Warriors are to win this title. If not, I still think the Warriors will somehow find a way to win the title soon, but who knows? But
there'll be a threat.
Yeah, but if that happens, KD's gonna have some very big words and some a lot of people that are on his back for the rest of his career.
Yeah,
including Stephen A. Smith.
I love it.
Oh yeah. So before we go, what are all the jerseys you have in your background?
So this actually I just got for my birthday, which was Saturday. It's this Michael Jordan. I've been wanting this for a while. This was the first one I got, which was Vince Carter for the Raptors. I have Steve Nash with the Suns, Ray Allen with the Bucks, Jason Tatum. I got a LeBron. I got a Penny Hardaway one on right now.
Oh yeah.
And then I have a KG one. And am I forgetting one? That might be all I got. I've been collecting them though for a little while, so that's what I've been getting for birthdays and things like that.
That's pretty sweet.
That's sweet.
Yeah, and I still remember the Penny Hardaway days and all that stuff, Penny and Shaq and all that, and how that was a pretty short era of basketball for them, but it was really fun to really go back and watch that stuff. You even see the 30 for 30s and all that stuff about the Magic and all that. It's some of that stuff's pretty fun to see.
Could have been awesome had Penny held up a little longer than he did, health wise, but
yep. And they still had that run to the finals when they played the Rockets and all that stuff. I remember that. Yep. So this is this is gonna be the end of our episode right now. Really thanks Sylas for coming on and all that stuff.
Thank you.
Go check out his page and all that. Is it Break the Silence with Cyborg, right?
Yeah, with a SY to spell silence.
Yes, please. We have it. We have it in the description on this YouTube video and all that stuff. Thank you guys for coming in. We got some good NBA basketball coming up tomorrow, Friday, Monday, and Thursday and Sunday following or to be determined. So thank you guys for stopping in and all that, and we will see you guys next time.